if you like city building games, then you want to check out Tower Up. Let's take a look at how this game plays. In this game, players will be building up their tall towers. They will choose each turn between drafting a card, which will give them some more materials, or some pushes on their player board here for some of their vehicles, or starting a new building. If players choose to draft a card, they will take whatever materials are on the card. So in this case, I'd get 2 brown cubes. And if there is a picture of one of the vehicles here, they will just push their vehicle 1 spot on their board, and then discard and refill. If they choose to start a new building, they'll pick the spot that they want to place their new building on, which must be adjacent to another building. And when they are starting a new building, they'll also have to pay for that building by contributing to any adjacent building. So for example, if I wanted to build here with this gray cube, and you can also never have 2 buildings of the same color starting adjacent to each other. But if I want to start there with that gray cube, that's fine. I would just also have to contribute a white cube over there, and then I would be all set for that turn. The next thing I would do as part of starting that building would be to put one of my roofs on top of either building that I contributed to. If you had contributed to 3 different buildings, for example, then you would also have that as an option as well. So maybe I'll put it on here, which would then cause my white vehicle to move the number of spaces as how many floors are on that building. That can get covered later on as well if somebody else builds adjacent to it, and they can put their roof on top of it, so players can have their roofs on buildings more than once or more than one player, but as long as they have a roof in that building, they are considered to have a presence there. While they're building those and moving up their various vehicles here, trying to get some points as they move them across for the end of the game, they'll also be working on the different objectives, such as having presence in 4 different brown buildings. If they accomplish them, they can accomplish each one up to once. They will take one of the available point tokens and then slot that into their board in the appropriate spot, and they obviously get a little bit lower, 7, 5, 3, 3, as more players are getting them. So the sooner that you are able to complete those, the better. At the end of the game, players will also, they will score all the points for how far their vehicles have moved. They will place their cone, depending on how many roofs they have, showing on top of buildings at the end of their last turn. And then players will just total up their score along with any of these bonus tokens that they got, and the player with the most points wins. Overall, I thought this game worked pretty well. I think that the 2-player map being smaller works very well to keep the game really tight and kind of tactical. I did notice a lot in the plays that if you were lucky enough to get in kind of like a corner where nobody could place adjacent to anymore, that was kind of always your best move. So the player that got lucky enough to be able to time that just right, especially in the higher player count game, usually did the best out of everybody. But there's also a lot of things to consider. You know, you can put your roof on a smaller building in order to just move up that colored of your vehicles, or you can put it on a bigger building to move that one up faster. You can go for the different objectives, which can be a lot of points if you get them earlier on. And then of course you have to balance all of the building with drafting the materials and hoping that the color that you need comes out, or maybe a card that has more materials on it. There's a little bit of luck with that. A player might get 4 cubes on their turn, but then the next player has only 2 cube cards to choose from. So there's definitely a lot of balancing in this game, which works pretty well. But overall, it's pretty abstract. That feels kind of themeless, but it is just kind of that city building kind of genre. So if you're into those style of games, you don't mind a little bit of abstraction, then it's a pretty cool strategic game. So definitely worth checking out. But you can see my full thoughts on the blog today to decide if this one's for you.